What does the Amazon Prime TV show The Summer I Turned Pretty and the hit Netflix movie series To All the Boys I've Loved Before have in common? Well, besides both being hit adaptations of book series by Asian American author Jenny Han, both have become targets of online discourse about Asian female, white male relationships, a discourse people summarize with one phrase, the Oxford Study. This discourse is everywhere, and if you've done any scrolling on TikTok or Instagram Reels, you may have seen content of Asian women with their white boyfriends, opened up the comments and seen a bunch that just say Oxford Study. In these comment sections, netizens use this term to suggest that Asian women seem to prefer romantic relationships with white men. Well, what is this so-called Oxford Study? The issue is, it doesn't actually exist. The study that netizens are referencing, authored by scholars Murali Balaji and Tina Wara-Wangs, is titled The New Susie Wong, Normative Assumptions of White Male and Asian Female Relationships. In an interview with Dazed, Balaji emphasized that his research does not show the relationship preferences of Asian women. But if the Oxford study doesn't exist, then why does the idea behind it feel so believable to people online? The answer lies in a much longer history that has shaped how Western society perceives Asian women and their relationships with white men. A significant part of the history of this interracial pairing begins with U.S. militarism in Asia. After World War II, the U.S. established military bases in various Asian countries, one of which was South Korea. According to historian Yuri Dulin in his paper Trans-Pacific Camp Towns, racialized regulated sex work districts known as camp towns formed around these bases, where U.S. servicemen would solicit local women. The scope of these activities was quite widespread. In the 1960s, following the end of the Korean War, the number of American troops in Korea peaked at approximately 62,000, with around 30,000 Korean women doing sex work in camp towns surrounding military bases. The encounters between service members and Korean women often grew into relationships that led to marriage, some of which were actually fake. In 1952, the McCarran-Walter Act allowed Asian brides to enter the U.S. more freely, and Korean wives of American service members began to immigrate in large numbers. After the 1965 Hart-Celler Act, many of these women began to sponsor their relatives, leading to the first Korean-American communities around southern military bases. Doolin argues that systems similar to camp towns would migrate to the U.S. through these women, eventually fueling the rise of illicit massage parlors near American bases as an extension of the camp town economy. But how? Well, we have to get back to my point of fake marriages. Many of the women working in massage parlors close to U.S. military bases across the country had immigrated to the U.S. under the guise of marriage to a soldier. However, these marriages were orchestrated by Korean camptown businessmen who wanted to bring their businesses to the U.S. and would pay soldiers to marry Korean women, leading to their immigration and subsequent work as sex workers surrounding domestic military bases. Overall, this history and dynamics that arose from it created a certain very unflattering perception of Asian women. In fact, Doolin highlighted that U.S. military commanders would often deny marriage requests between soldiers and Korean women because they believed that they made better prostitutes than wives. By the 1980s, Korean sex workers working in massage parlors close to domestic military bases was extremely common and very widespread. These developments produced a long-lasting stereotype that Asian women are sexually available to Western men, an idea that has become embedded in the way interracial relationships involving Asian women are perceived. U.S. militarism explains one significant origin of this interracial dynamic, as well as the public perception of Asian women. However, Western media has also played a significant role in constructing these cultural stereotypes. Scholar Gina Marchetti argues in Romance and the Yellow Peril that Hollywood has long used Asia as a setting for depicting racial and sexual anxieties in American society. In these films, Asian women are almost never shown as fully developed characters. Instead, they embody various tropes which have led to the objectification of Asian women. As Marchetti writes, Asian females are often depicted as sexually available to the white hero. Marchetti provides numerous examples from film history, and the sixth chapter of her book, titled White Nights in Hong Kong, specifically examines how the white male-Asian female dynamic was portrayed in Western cinema. What does she mean by white knight? This is a fairly common trope that refers to a white male figure in media who is a romantic hero to a female love interest, thereby rationalizing the woman's subservient role. An example given is the world of Susie Wong, which is referenced in the title of the quote-unquote Oxford study. This film follows Susie Wong, a Hong Kong prostitute who models for and falls in love with Robert Lomax, an American artist. Susie is characterized as a tragic character. She's an orphan and a victim of sexual abuse. I won't delve into the specific details, but at the end of the film, Susie's illegitimate baby is killed in a landslide. After the child's funeral, Robert proposes to Susie, and she agrees. Happily ever after, right? In this film, Lomax is clearly a white knight who saves a pitiful Asian woman from her dark past as a prostitute. As Marchetti puts it, Robert, in fact, manages to save Susie from the last emotional link she had with the slums of Hong Kong. This trope of an Asian woman in distress and need of rescue from a white knight is just one of many objectifying stereotypes that Hollywood has boxed Asian women into. Besides the trope of the subservient Asian woman, another common trope that can be found in the media is that of the strong, mysterious, and sexually appealing dragon lady. This trope is also embodied by Suzy Wong, who is portrayed as confident and manipulative as she works as a prostitute in certain parts of the film. While these two common tropes are very contrasting, they both serve to entertain Western audience and have heavily shaped the overall perception about what Asian women are like in their relationships with white men. Hollywood is only part of the picture. The reason that discourse about the Oxford study is so widespread today is because of how stereotypes and perceptions circulate on social media, which are already echo chambers of toxicity. Social media has created spaces where people publicly interpret, judge, and joke about relationships. Short form videos of Asian women with white men will attract comments filled with phrases like Oxford study, modern day colonialism, or I waited 3.5 years, white man did it in 1 week. The phrase Oxford study functions less like a real academic citation, but a meme shorthand. By referencing a supposedly authoritative academic study, commenters invoke a set of racial assumptions without having to provide evidence. And it works, because it taps into long-standing stereotypes that were established through history and media. But what do these comments reveal? By examining the history of this relationship dynamic, as well as the media's portrayal of Asian females, it's clear that many netizens view the relationship dynamic between a white male and Asian female through a combination of historical narratives, media tropes, and contemporary anxieties about race, power, and desirability. The comment sections themselves become a primary source, showing how old stereotypes are repackaged into meme language and used to critique and mock real couples online. And while there could very well be a real pattern today of the increasing popularity of the white male Asian female dynamic, there has yet to be a study affiliated with Oxford University providing statistically sound scholarly evidence. In the end, the Oxford study reveals less about real dating patterns and more about how historical stereotypes and Western media shape contemporary discourse.